So the guys at Red Dragon Darts have been extremely busy. They've got their new range of products endorsed by the current world champion Luke Coolhand Humphries. They've got the World Champion Tour Polo. They've also got the new Optima set. New Cool Hand dartboard surround. They've also got the new Cool Hand dart case by Stone 2 and the Cool Hand Luke Humphries flight collection. And introducing the Airwing molded flight technology endorsed by Cool Hand Luke Humphries by Red Dragon. Darts World, we are darts. Hello and welcome to episode 22 of your Darts World Weekly podcast. I'm AJ Ernston-Toft.
And my name is Harry Masterson.
And how are we doing today, Harry?
Very good, AJ. Obviously, we've just had the World Cup, which was a fantastic tournament, and I feel like we're all just getting really excited now for the upcoming World Match Play.
Yes, it is the summertime, and usually we say it's Dartsmas, but it is a darting summer as well. And you've had the World Cup, and then, as we said, we've got loads of events going off, not just PDC, but across the board, all your three-letter acronyms, and even ones outside of them three-lettered acronyms as well. But I think you've chose the perfect way to start and discussing the recent World Cup of Darts.
So, over the last 4 days, we had the annual World Cup of Darts in Frankfurt, and we got record-breaking England winning a 5th World Cup title. Yeah,
and as dead certs go, I think that was a dead cert. It's not like the England football team who needs to prime players, high the rankings. So I think it was, for me, a bit of a foregone conclusion on who the winner was going to be. But everything in between was just fantastic.
Absolutely. I think we knew, like, when you've got two world champions representing your country, the chances are you've got a really good opportunity in winning there. And same with the Scotland duo as well. They reached the semi-finals, and it was a fantastic display from both Luke Humphries and Michael Smith. Luke Humphries making his debut in the World Cup as well and getting over the winning line straight away.
Yeah, I mean, they had the bye going into the second round straight away. But looking at the group stages, I mean, you had Ireland knocked out by Chinese Taipei, and Austria came out of a tough group. I mean, China played very well, but most of the seeds going through their groups, barring the United States as well, who got knocked out by Italy. And Italy performed really well as well going into the knockout stage.
Absolutely. We definitely had some upsets and some nations as well who were the heavy favourites in their group stage, but not making it look the easiest. And I'm going to say it was Australia that was that sort of example in terms of their group with Hong Kong and Japan. Both matches were not the easiest for Damon Heta and Simon Whitlock, and they went into the knockout stages as a result of winning their group, and then they had the tough test, which was Italy.
Yeah, and it was a last leg decider. And again, in these formats, you're going to see a lot of last leg deciders, and there was a fair few in the knockout phase. But yeah, Italy just squeaking past Australia. Belgium blew the Netherlands away, which would you put that as an upset? I mean, Michael van Gerwen has obviously been playing some really good stuff, but Belgium just seems to be one of these teams, even though there is the highly contested issue between the players. It's been well put out there on the media, that they don't necessarily get along great. But Kim Huybrechts just seems to evolve into something else in the World Cup of Darts.
And he was the player, in my opinion, in that match with Holland that produced the most important shots. There was lots of clutch finishing from Kim Huybrechts in that match with Holland. I think he had 2 bullseye finishes, and Holland didn't even play that bad at all. They're both Danny Noppert and Michael van Gerwen were scoring very well. I think it was 100 average from them overall, but
Yeah, they had
to
the
walk
highest
away
average of the tournament.
and they walked away with just 2 legs in their game. So it's like it's harsh, but it's also that is just darts at the end of the day. And we've mentioned this on the podcast before. Averages do mean nothing.
Yeah, averages don't win matches, doubles do.
And Kim Huybrechts, when you're hitting combination finishes left, right, and centre, there is nothing anyone can do about that. And even they may not get on Kim Huybrechts and Dimitri van den Berg, but when it comes to the World Cup and when it comes down to the real important matches, they just somehow find a way.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, a great run for Austria to the final. I mean, would you have that on your bingo card? I wouldn't say necessarily, but Mensah is one of them players that just every now and again proves why he is such a good player. And his partner, Roby, was just fantastic.
Absolutely. And you look at that semi final with Belgium, and I think it was 7 legs on the spin that the Austrian pair managed to conjure up to reach the final. And it was Mensah Suljovic, a bit like I was saying about Kim Huybrechts with his wonderful finishing in the Holland game. It was Mensah Suljovic this time that had the fantastic finishing ability. And that was what made the difference in the end between the two nations and Austria reaching a second World Cup final. They didn't get over the winning line, but it's another big confidence booster for both Roby, John Rodriguez, and Mensah Suljovic ahead of the rest of the year.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not ranked as such, but it's these events that can just really, give them a kick up the backside, and they just seem to find the form at the right moments, and then it's how long they can keep that purple patch going on for, and hopefully both for both of them too, if the Austrian team, that it goes well, because I've always been a massive fan of both players. I think Roby John has never really gone to his potential, and Mensah is just one of these characters of the game where you don't expect much, but then you get everything. And then the moment you expect, something just doesn't seem to happen.
A bit on again, off again. Mensah
Yeah.
Suljovic. Sometimes when he's on it, he is on it. I remember that World Match Play final with Gary Anderson a few years ago, and he played a fantastic match. He didn't win the game, but he put everything into that final. And when he was in the Premier League as well, he was causing problems week after week. He also won the Champions League when it was first about. So
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that
he
run
knows
of the
how to win.
Champions League. Yeah, that run of the
Yeah,
Champions League was
fantastic.
fantastic, fantastic. But as we said, England triumphed and deservedly slow. I mean, the finishing of Luke Humphries, the scoring. I mean, they're both excellent scorers, and it was just one of them where if one missed, the other didn't, and it was very, very clinical.
Absolutely. And Luke Humphries in that final with Austria, it was 10-6 overall. And I think Luke Humphries had 4 ton plus finishes in that match. And that is just fantastic. He's showing why he is the world champion. And it was Michael Smith in the end that hit the winning double for the pair. And everyone's saying before the tournament, Luke Littler should be playing and not Michael Smith. You can't change the rules just for Luke Littler,
No.
just because he's won the Premier League, just because he's having a fantastic year so far. You can't change the
Yeah,
rules for him. And Michael Smith earned his place in that World Cup team, and I'm so happy that England did get over the winning line in the end because it's going to be a massive confidence booster for both Humphries and Michael Smith going into the World Match Play.
absolutely. And I don't know if you noticed, but Michael Smith adapted his game to suit Luke Humphries.
And that's the thing with this doubles format. You've got to be considerate of your not your opponent, sorry, your partner in the World Cup of Darts. It's the only tournament in the year where it's doubles format, and when it comes to doubles matches, you've got to be talking with your partner constantly, asking him what he wants to be left on, and vice versa. And you also saw as well the fact that Michael Smith was throwing first of the two, because I think Humphrey said it in an interview that he trusted Michael Smith's scoring power, saying that he had the best scoring power out of anyone he knew. So it was probably the right choice in my aspect in terms of um, having the high scorer throwing first, trying to get off to a positive start in each leg, and it was the winning formula, and they were it was going to be it was going to take a very good team to have knocked the English out of the World Cup.
Yeah, absolutely. And just going back to the, the choices of outshots. I mean, for me, when I'm practicing with friends and, you do the classic 1-2-1 in 6 darts or 9 darts, however, you want to do it. Sometimes, you might not have the ball and, your next person is going to have 3 darts at a double. It's then, going for what double they prefer. Now, for me, I'm a double tops, double 10 kind of guy, but then a lot of friends I know are more double 16 players. So I always try and have that in mind. I mean, it doesn't necessarily work, but you've got to try and it's adding an extra aspect of the game that you might not even consider when obviously you're playing for the rest of the year because it's all singles games. But it just adds a little subtle element to the games, which is always interesting.
What have you made of the because obviously this is the second year now of the World Cup being all doubles, and obviously you had the World Cups beforehand with it being singles in after the first round. Do you prefer it all doubles, or do you miss the singles aspect of the World Cup as well?
See, I'm old enough to remember when they had the World Pairs Championships, and I think the last iteration was Bob Anderson and Phil Taylor beating Chris Mason and Steve Raw, and that was in Salford at the Willows Club, where Salford City Reds Rugby League used to play. But I think with this pairs format, it does it does create a bit more drama. I think with the team game, like the pairs and the individuals, I think that goes more to like a Ryder Cup aspect. Now, would something like that as a Ryder Cup where it be potentially England or Great Britain versus the rest of the world, and you did a Ryder Cup format, I think pairs, singles will definitely work. I think for the World Cup of Darts, I think it's got to be strictly pairs because it just makes it easier to watch. You know what to expect. I think whereas if you can dabble with the format and you have just two teams playing over multiple days, then that's when you could put in your different aspects of pairs, singles, and such.
And you also see with the top four nations, so this year it was England, Scotland, Wales, and Holland getting the automatic buy into the knockout stages. Do you feel that they should be playing in the group stage as well?
Yes, I do definitely. You should have 32 teams in there and have them all in.
Yeah, I
I
completely
think
agree. I just feel that,
they've already got a big hand in having the two best players, within the top 16 to 32, so you're not going to have a team there that haven't got a good pairing. So giving them another advantage by not going through the group stage, I think I don't think it serves the tournament well. I think you've got to have that little bit of jeopardy in the group stage. I mean, God knows England's football team knows how to put us through jeopardy, but I think it just might add a bit more spice to it.
yeah. And you see, because at the end of the day, you could get these upsets with, like we saw with the Chinese Taipei with Ireland in their group. You could have definitely seen it with the top four nations as well. And you look at Gerwyn Price getting ruling himself out of the World Cup for Wales. Would Wales have still been in the top four seeds if Price had announced that he was not playing in the World Cup before? I don't know.
Yeah, so I mean, whatever seems to be happening with Gerwyn Price, obviously we hope it a speedy recovery on that because he's better in tournaments than not in tournaments. He always adds a certain flavour, if you will. But yeah, I think doing it so soon beforehand, I think was just it just put a bit of a dampener. I mean, Jim Williams is a fantastic player. I don't want to discredit him. I've played him many times in the BDO system and known him for a fair number of years, and he's a great, great player. But I think to be thrown in at such short notice, I don't think it really would have given their preparations any good.
No, it didn't do him any favors, and it's a very daunting prospect as well, representing your country at such short notice, and you're making your debut in the event as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. As Gareth Southgate likes to blood his opponents in, I think he needed a chance of that. But in it, as darts is sometimes it can be you can have opportunities thrust upon you, and it's either sink or swim sometimes.
Exactly.
So that is the World Cup of Darts. But there's been so many things happening. We'll have to talk briefly about the development tour. So earlier in June, we had the rounds of the development tour, which was development tours 11 to 15. And pretty much like the PDC Pro Tour at the moment, we just seem to be having different winners all the time, and five different tournaments, five different winners over that weekend.
Indeed, and it was a record-breaking weekend as well because the first tournament was in fact won by Bo Greaves, a first development tour title won by a female player, and she played absolutely fantastic in winning that competition.
Yeah, the match over Owen Maiden in the quarterfinals, where she was averaging 102. I mean, just goes to show what quality she is throwing with.
And she had better performances in that tournament as well. In the end, she went and beat Daniel Perry in the final, and she just keeps going from strength to strength.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as many superlatives as we talk about Luke Littler, we're matching it with Bo Greaves. She just seems to be smashing each level of the glass ceiling and making a real name for herself. And as I said earlier in the year, I think having Bo Greaves on the Pro Tour is a real possibility.
Definitely. And with the more and more competitions that she keeps picking up, the more and more confidence in her own ability that she is going to get. And we've seen it on the Super Series. She reached Champions Week of that. She's now on a development tour. She's obviously looking to defend her Women's World Match Play title later this month in Blackpool.
Yeah.
She could also go into, she's already qualified for Lakeside, so she could go and try and make it three women's world championships in a row in the WDF circuit, or she could finish top. I don't know if she's top of the women's series order of merit at the minute, but there is definitely a strong possibility that she could be back at the Ali Pali again this year.
Yeah, it's kind of like them books, when you used to choose your own path along the books, go to chapter, you sprint forward to chapter 13 or whatever. She just has so many options available to her, and playing in all these tournaments, PDC, WDF, and how she plays on the Motor Super Series. She's a highlight reel all to herself. It just beggars belief, really.
And moving on to the other development tours on the weekend, events 11 and 12, it was the turn of the top two, the new look top two. It was Keane Barry who won the first competition. He beat Angelo Balsamo in the final, and Dynamite looking fantastic once again. I think he had 104 average in his semi-final as well. So definitely finding a bit of form on the development tour.
Yeah, he's always had one of them really nice looking throws. I mean, even from watching him in the Northern Irish Open with the infamous clip where Dave Evans did a Gary Anderson, where he got the three treble 20s and the all three popped to the floor. But Keane Barry won that match, but he's always had that really lovely fluid throw. And the way he's built his dart up with the small flights and the way they land, it's perfect for stacking, and he does it. And when it's on, it's on.
One of the best examples of an understacker, a bit like Alfil Taylor used to play when he was
Yeah.
he was an expert in terms of the understacking technique. And when the darts go in at that angle, it is really important for Keane Barry that the dart actually lands below the treble instead of above.
Yes, yeah. But always, I used to have a similar thing when I used to use pear-shaped flights. That was my kind of trajectory, and I was just aimed for that bottom wire of the treble 20. If it landed anywhere near there, I was in my mind, I'm going, that's a 140 or a ton where I can just build it up. It's always difficult on tops when you miss it and it goes on top, because then you've got that blocker. But for everywhere else around the board, it just, if you're on song and you're hitting that lower section of the trebles, and King Barry's doing that now more often than not.
It's like the dart's it's like a magnet on the dart, and it just attracts it to be right next to it when it comes with that
Yeah.
sort of technique. And obviously, it's a bit of I never have this problem because unfortunately I'm really tall, so I'm always throwing down onto the treble. But
Don't be
I love
sharp.
watching under. No, I'm not. I'm not. No, but the understacking technique is a fantastic to watch, especially when you see it on the telly. And Keane Barry's just another example of that type of player.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, Wessel Nyman, is coming back to his best form. I've watched him for a few years, and he's always been one of them where you're going, one to look for, and he's proven us all right. I mean, in the last set of development tour events, he was in a competition with himself for the highest average, but now Bo's giving him a run for his money. But he just seems to be getting them wins now more often than not.
And that's the thing, when you start turning your performances into wins, that is when it it is important in terms of where you are. And you can tell with the ranking table now as well, he's in the top two. So as things stand, he is on on course to be getting a tour card at the end of the year.
Yeah, and a place in the World Championships. But you look at that top 10, and as we said, we've got Keen Barry at top, Wessel Nyman second, and he's only 150 quid in it. So, it's still all to play for.
It's very close, and the final two events of the weekend was in fact won by Northern Ireland's Nathan Rafferty, who won event 14, and then event 15 was won by Sebastian Bielecki, who recently signed a new deal with MODUS.
Yeah, so a good way to celebrate with celebrate the win and get a new contract. It's all very easy. But these youth players, as we said, the standard keeps growing, and then you've had the burst onto the scene by Luke Littler, who used this development tour as his stepping stone, along with the Moda Super Series to get his name out there. And now you're seeing these players, and they're all there or thereabouts, and it's looking forward to the future, and you're going, anyone going into Q school or anything like that. I mean, this is what you've got to be contending with, and maybe an 80 average used to be good enough back then, to maybe get a tour card as a last ditch. But now I don't think that's going to be enough. You've got to be in the 90s or go home.
It's gone to that stage. It's got to that stage now where the development tour is probably as competitive as the challenge tour now. Everyone wants to win. Everyone is producing fantastic numbers in each of the events held. And all I can say is that it's going to be hard to pick who's going to be winning the remaining events of the year.
Yes, it's going to be something to watch with a keen eye. But that's the news of the PDC. But we've got the World Match Play coming up, and we had an opportunity of speaking to one of its former winners, who's just re-signed with Red Dragon Darts, and it's Jaws, Colin Lloyd. And here is a sample of that
I
interview.
mean, the game's just gone skyrocketing, Simon, isn't it? I mean, the products are getting bigger and better, but also the players. The amount of professionalism now. I'm not saying I wasn't professional, because I was, but gone are the days where you can just come swanning into the room and look round and think, well, I'll have some of this today. You can't. You've got to get there early. You've got to get the arm working, and that's the only way you're going to get results, because the players today, they're just pumping 100 plus averages. Back in my day, Simon, if you had 100 average and you'd lost, you'd be so distraught, it'd be ridiculous. Whereas now, you just have to, it's part of the game now. You have 105 average and you get beat, you just got to take it on the chin. Well, let's see how we'll do next round.
There is an excerpt from the interview that we had with Colin Lloyd, and you will find that on our sister channel or sister program, Let's Talk Darts, again on your Darts World YouTube channel. So moving on, we now move on to the ADC and WADC. So not only did we have the vault winners over the past week, we also had the Winmau Tour for both ADC and WADC, and it was in Aylesbury. And by the looks of things, they just keep upping the standard of where you're going to be playing in, the environment you're playing in, but the standard of play just keeps going up and up as well.
Absolutely. And one thing I was very impressed by, I wasn't there this time at the Champions Tours, but the venue they played in Aylesbury, that Bradmore Farm, it looked absolutely fantastic. And I think the darts matched, the standard of the darts matched the standard of the venue.
Yeah, and this is essentially what the ADC is all about. As we've said on many times, it's from the dog and duck, from the pub to the MODUS Super Series potentially for the Vault winners and playing in these events of the Windmill Tour. And this is a great platform for players who want to then go on to the PDC Challenge Tour and beyond. I mean, this is the perfect stepping stone.
And with the rewards that you've got at the end of both of the championship tours, getting that opportunity to play on a live stream at the Modus Super Series, it just goes to show that the opportunities are there, and having all these events all through the year, it only can benefit the individual player. And the further you get in each tournament, the more confidence you can get going into the other tournaments in the year.
Yeah, and if you look at the winners of these Windmill Tour events, for both the women's and the men's, and then you look at the development tour and you look at the challenge tour and you look at the women's super series, you're going to see the same names cropping up because they're playing often.
Absolutely. And I feel like we're now entering crunch time with the championship tours for this year. There's now just 4 events remaining following this weekend, and we have a new leader at the top of the championship tour order of merit, and that is Thomas Banks.
Yeah, he had a really good weekend, and that's what's put him into that #1 spot, pipping Gary Stone. And then moving down the top 10, you've got Joe Croft, Andy Bolton, Bradley Brooks, Charlie Martin, Neil Duff, Darrell Pilgrim, James Richardson, and Shane Turner. And you look at all them names, and for me, you look at Modus Super Series, they've been on their box tick. They do really well in the Challenge Tour, or they've been on the Pro Tour before. Again, these are high-level players playing at a really high level, and they're not just doing it across one set of tournaments. You're seeing them in multiple events across different governing bodies. And as we said, consistency is key, and playing consistently is the key to it.
Indeed, we had 4 different winners on the Windmill Championship Tour this weekend. Thomas Banks was the only player that actually had already won a tournament before before the 3rd weekend. Darrell Pilgrim, on his birthday as well, winning event 11. It was Shane Turner that won event 12, and the opening event winner of the weekend was Tom Lonsdale.
Yeah, and Tom Lonsdale has won an event, and he's not in the top 10, so you can see how competitive this division of darts is.
Absolutely, and with just 4 tournaments now left to play, the race, I think it's just 3 points that separates 8th and 9th, and they're the 2 positions that are the most important in relation to qualifying for the finals night at the end of the year. The top 8 qualify for the finals day, as you said, and Darrell Pilgrim sits in that all-important 8th position as things stand. But James Richardson hasn't won a tournament yet this year, but a run to the final in the 3rd weekend. I think he got to a semi-final in the 2nd weekend as well. So he's racking up the points at the minute, and he's still in with a shout of qualifying for finals day. If he just wins one tournament, he'll be pretty much nearly secure of his spot. Yeah.
And then you move over to the ladies or the women's ADC Windmill Tour, and if you want a close race and you're looking at the points, this is where you go. I mean, Fallon Sharrock is top of the table with 290 points. Vicky Prum, 288. Gemma Hayter, who's on this tear at the moment, on 272. Then Angela Kirkwood on 249. 41 points in it between the top 4. And with the point system in place, one good run or one not so good run can really be the difference of an easier route, perhaps, or I mean, the top 8 you're going to have really good players, but obviously you see the names there and you're going, where do I want to place myself? With Lisa Ashton at number 5, you're looking at potentially now Angela Kirkwood versus Lisa Ashton, which is a mouth-watering game, and then Dieter Hedman potentially against Gemma Hayter. Again, what a match that's going to be. So you're looking at the top 4 and then you're looking at the top 8. It's still all to play for. There's nothing in it. There's 1 point between 8th and 9th. So if you want close action, this is where you go.
I remember interviewing Angela Kirkwood after she won one of the Women's Amateur Darts Circuit Championship tours. I think it was on the opening weekend, and I think she said in that interview, as long as I don't get Lisa Ashton again, it should be a fun finals day. And as things stand, I believe it is Lisa Ashton taking on Angela Kirkwood in the quarterfinals again. So it could all change. There's still 4 more tournaments left to
Yes.
play, and Lisa Ashton, what a fantastic weekend for her. She's not even played a single championship tour all year, but she won 3 out of the 4 events. I think it was only Marie Fitton that ended up beating Lisa Ashton this weekend, but 3 tournament wins, and she's already in the top 8, and pretty much she looks pretty much secure and cemented her place with regards qualifying for finals day.
Yeah, as Lisa would say, oh my days. It was an unbelievable performance. And yeah, Lisa has been a legend of the game for many years, not just, locally. I mean, multiple Windmill World Master, multiple world champion, only woman to ever play on the Pro Tour via Q School. She's got a resume like no other. And just proving she's still got it within her and playing some ridiculous darts.
It also makes you wonder as well, because obviously she had that run in the seniors world championship at the start of the year where she reached the semi-finals. It just makes you wonder as well, if she had played all the tournaments this year, how would she be well ahead in relation to the rankings, or would it be a bit more like
A
concrete
bit
that
closer.
she would definitely be in with a shout, I should say, of qualifying for finals day?
It's a difficult one because obviously, she wasn't there, so that happens. But if you're just looking at the form of them 4 tournaments over that weekend, you've got to say she's the best women's player, barring Bo Greaves on form. I would say, I mean, Fallon Sherrock has had ups and downs, and Dieter Hedman's been always there or thereabouts. But you look at the consistent high levels that Bo Greaves has been playing at, and then Lisa comes into play, and she comes into play. So you got to say them two running. I would say them two would have been running neck and neck. I think it would be a completely different scenario with probably 3 fighting for the top 2 in the women's series, rather than it being kind of a Fallon Sherrock, Bo Greaves show. I think Lisa Ashton, if she had been going to the other tournaments, I think she could be nipping at the heels of one or both of the players.
And another player that is playing herself into fantastic form. On. She's having a real purple patch at the minute. She just won a women's series event for the first time. She's now added a 3rd championship tour title to her ranks, and that is Gemma Hayter, who is now 3rd in the rankings. And it was a victory over Steph Clark in the final, who reached both the finals on the Sunday in Aylesbury. And with those 2 runs to the final, Steph is now in the top 8. And I think it's just a point that separates 8th and 9th in the women's
Yeah,
championship tour order of merit. So it's very close both in the men's and the women's championship tours.
yeah, which just goes to show the depth of talent that is in there, but it's also showing the high levels of players that are in there. I mean, the ADC, when it started, I was there when it was mad, and then it changed over to the ADC, and there was a lot of naysays, and there was a lot of, oh, they need to do it. You can't be doing it in pubs. It's a progressional thing, and obviously they've made that massive announcement of the global championships, and they are now becoming the natural successor of what was a BDO in the UK. I think globally, the WDF is still where it's at, and they've got their Lakeside World Championships. But I think if you're just looking at UK centric base point, ADC is doing phenomenally well. They are out there in Europe, they are out there in the Oceanic area, and they are out there in America, in Canada, should I say. And it's only going to go from strength to strength. If they get the right people in the right places, it's going to go strength to strength. And the WDF has got to not look out, but I think if in an ideal world, I would love all for them to get along, and but they've just got different structures, and I think that's a good thing because it gives players opportunities. for people like me who work on the road, I can, it's like I said, I can go to a tournament in Cardiff if it's on, and just have a good chuck and this, that, and the other. And then for the people who want to get to the lakeside, obviously that's where you go with the WDF events. But if you want to get your name out there and having them opportunities for MODUS, and then you've got the finals, as we said, later on this year, and now the global championships. People are looking at the ADC and going, this is a real viable option. And I think that's only good for darts, is if you've got a lot of options, you've got a lot of opportunities.
Definitely. And as you mentioned, the ADC is 100% going to go from strength to strength. You're seeing with the players that are coming through on the Moda Super Series from both the Europe region as well as here. We've seen Andy Davidson, we've seen Jimmy Van Schie come through the ADC Europe route. He's just won again at the Super Series, which we will get onto. And you mentioned the Global Championships as well. I think that's going to be the tournament where the ADC brings it all together. We get to see the whole work of the Europe system, the Ireland system, the Oceania system, the UK system as well, and we're just going to see just what talent is there at the minute within the amateur dart circuit. And I'm sure with this opening global championship, the want of other players to get involved is just going to get even higher.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And the next thing is the progression for them is their media. I mean, obviously they do a lot on YouTube and they do a lot on their socials, but I think, I would love to watch this on TV, because you're going to see a lot of names that you've seen who may have had Pro Tour cards and won WDF World Championships, etc. But for me, if they could just get that television spot, I think that would be the real making for them. And this global championships really could do something for them.
Definitely. We'll have to have a look and see how this first inaugural global ADC Darts Championship is going to pan out. But I'm sure it's at the Moda Super Series as well, so it could even still be live streamed because you've got all the equipment there with the Super Series taking place.
Yeah.
You're also going to have the finals days later in the year as well. So it's exciting times for the amateur dart circuit, and as you said earlier on, it's going to go from strength to strength.
Absolutely, absolutely. And as we said, the ADC and the WDC have their finals at the MODUS Super Series theatre. So let's naturally go over to the MODUS Super Series.
So we move on to the Moda Super Series. Series 8 is now well and truly underway, and we've got two more winners now who have confirmed their spots at Champions Week. Week 3 was won by Richard Rowlands, who defeated the defending Champions Week winner from Series 7, Andreas Harrison, 4-2 in the final. And mad stat from that game, neither player missed a double.
It was a fantastic final, and that stat is just crazy because it's like you've been in them matches, or I've been in them matches, and you're setting yourself up for a two-darter, or you're setting yourself up on a double, and they hit it, and you're just going, what have I got to do? What have I got to do to beat him? And sometimes there is no answer. And I think this was the case for Andreas Harrison. He must have been just looking at the back of his head and going, miss, miss. And he didn't.
Indeed, you just get them sort of games where players just don't miss, and that was the case for Richard Rowlands. And the mad thing as well is that was the final. Like you'd expect that in one of the earlier group games, whether it was Group B, Group A, or Group C, or earlier on in the finals night. But you'd expect in the actual final, the nerves to be there for both players. Maybe not Andreas Harrison because obviously he's played in a Champions Week final, but Richard Rowlands never reached a Champions Week before playing. I don't know if it was his first final, but he showed no nerves whatsoever in that game, and another player that's going to be an interesting and fantastic addition to Champions Week.
Yeah, a duck to water for him. It looked like it's just like he was at the dog and duck, just throwing his darts, and when it stays on, he was just in blinding form.
Indeed, and moving on to the most recent week of the Modus Super Series, Richie Burnett nearly made history earlier in the week. I think he went 10 games unbeaten in the first 2 days. No one has ever won 15 out of 15 in Group A. And Richie, fantastic week, reached the final, but losing narrowly to Jimmy Van Schie, who once again will appear at a Champions Week.
Yeah, I think it just might have been one tall order too many for Richie Burnett playing in final against Van Schie. I mean, he is the tallest player I've ever seen, and but
Yeah, I
he
agree.
can really throw. He can really throw some, and even the way his darts land, he's never going to have a blocker because he can just get the angle.
Absolutely. And he's another one of those players where if the first dart goes in, the chances are he's going to be following up with the remaining two into the treble and 180. And you're seeing that more and more now with lots of players like
Yeah,
first dart merchants.
Darryl Fitton always is one of them. Was always one of them plays when he was throwing with his G4 starts with the length with the like 41 mil point. As soon as that first start went in, it's like you got 180. Oh, it was,
Yeah.
and you can see that with some like Gary Anderson, Dave Chisnell. I mean, even with his awkward action, it just seems to make it work for him. But Jimmy Van Schie is like, as soon as that first starts in that bed, it's like it's going over the top or to the side, and the consistency of how he was doing it was just unbelievable.
Absolutely. And again, another player that continues to go from strength to strength. He plays regularly on the WDF circuit as well. He's been winning stuff over there, and he also goes on to the MODUS and continues to showcase his talent there as well. So it just goes to show that playing all these different events in different organizations is just going to benefit your game, and he's certainly going to be a player that many people will be looking out for at Q School next year.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. One to look out for. Well, you can't miss him anyway.
Very tall, Jimmy Van Schie. As you said, I've never seen a player. I don't think I know a player that's taller than Jimmy. No way.
No, no. But that was the Modus Super Series. But we've got some more news because it is the Champion of Champions event. So, as we said, the Champion of Champions event has started where you've got 256 venues, 256 winners, all then going to Cardiff for the finals to play for that £10,000 and the fantastic trophy. And we've had some winners over the past few weeks, Harry, haven't we?
We have indeed, and obviously there's 256 venues in the Red Dragon Champion of Champions, and each week more and more winners are getting announced from these selected venues. The most recent winners we've got Mike Huntley, we've got Gavin Lewis, we've got Adam Serple, Jason Davis, Mark Lewis, Garen Lewis, Wayne Glover, and Robert Thornton will all be at Champion of Champions on the 24th of August.
Yes, and you may be watching and asking, how do I enter this event? You simply go onto the Red Dragon website and you go into Champs 2024, where you can register for just £5, and then you can play in any number of events that you care to wish for. And we're going to highlight where some of these events are. First of all, in the Yorkshire area, you've got the Union Club in Marsborough, and that is postcode S611AA, and that is being played on the 13th of July. And then you've got the Swaith Main Working Men's Club in Barnsley, postcode S74QY, and that is being played this Sunday on the 7th of July. And then looking at the Wings Club, and that's in Denbigh in Wales, and that's LL16 3TT, and that's being played on the 14th of July. Moving towards the Midlands, you've got the 3 Tons in Tamworth. Again, this is being played on Sunday, the 7th of July. Postcode for that is B783QN. And then you've got the Drayton Manor Cricket and Social Club. This is being played on the 21st of July, and that's in Fasley. And the postcode for that is Bravo 783SJ. So all these are available on the Red Dragon website. They've got a map where you can just look for your local area and find whichever tournaments are near to you. We've got the vast majority of events in the Wales area, but we go as far as London, we've got Clacton at Southend-on-Sea, and that's on the 20th of July, and that's at the Clacton Sports Bar, which we have mentioned before on the podcast. And then you've got the Academy in Basingstoke. Again, this is a venue that holds vault events, and the postcode for that is RG22.
I think it held the finals event.
Yes, RG22 5EE. That's on the 20th of July. So there's still plenty of time to get your name in, get your name on, and hopefully get your name in the draw.
Absolutely. And the Red Dragon Champion of Champions, I would say, is the modern day version of the news of the World Championships. It is a best of 3 leg format in all matches, both in the qualifying stage and on the finals day as well. From the first round all the way until the final, it is a best of 3 leg format all the way through. So it's one of them formats where you've got to be on it from the minute go.
Yeah, so this event, obviously the Champions of Champions, as we said, best of 3. The news of the World Tournament, I'm a darts nerd. I've got no problem saying that. And I've watched some of these finals from the past. And the final where the Northwest player, Billy Leonard, won the News of the World against Leighton Rees in the final, it was like the World Cup of darts. It was a huge, you had 8,000 people there sitting in the rafters. It was unbelievable. Health and safety has improved since then, but it is that same format. It is cutthroat darts. I've been fortunate enough to play in these finals, and they are a great venue, great atmosphere to play in. It is cutthroat. It is cruel at times, but as you say, the people who have won the event in the past definitely deserve it, because you've got to be at your A game right from the get-go, all the way to the end, and everything in between.
And you look at the previous winners of the Champion of Champions, you've got Gerwyn Price, you've got Ryan Searle, you've got Johnny Clayton, Paul Hogan, Jim Williams, all top players. The recent winners as well, Alex Small and Kurt Parry. So it just goes to show that you've got to be, as AJ says, you've got to be on your game from the minute go in the Red Dragon Champion of Champions. And all I can say is congratulations to all the players that have qualified so far, and very best of luck if you are still to compete in the remaining venues before finals day.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, and the finals are at Bank Holiday weekend. So again, what perfect way to have your Bank Holiday weekend in Cardiff. And every time I've been, it has been absolutely glorious weather-wise. So top up the tan, get down there and enjoy yourselves.
Good luck trying to get a tan in Wales.
Hey, I do in Abersock. That's my favourite part of the world. But there's all these events for the Champions of Champions, but there is a lot more events out there on the open road. So the open road is long and vast, and this weekend is no different. We have loads of events going on this weekend on top of the Champion of Champions qualifiers. In Amersham, moving on to Wilmslow, you have the Wagon and Horses 9-week knockouts, where you've got your 8 weekly winners, where they've had 3 events so far. So we are moving on to week 4, and that is £5 entry. It is a £1 entry for the highest outshot prize. And as you said, if you win one of the weeks, you go to the finals week, and that is where you play for the jackpot of £500, and that is in Wilmslow, Greater Manchester. Later this month, the 20th and 21st of July, is the Cheshire Open, and on the Saturday there's a whole host of events. You've got the Ladies Open Singles, which is £15 per entry, £500 to the winner. And then you've got the ladies pairs, which is £15 per pair, and it's money in, money out. And the format is 601 best of 3. Note the difference there. And then you've got the men's singles warm-up, which is £15 per entry, and again, money in, money out. Then you've got the men's pairs, which is £15 per pair, and again, 601 best of 3. And then there's also a mixed pairs, which is £15 per pairs, and again, money in, money out, 601 best of 3, and the finals of the pairs events are best of 5. Registration is between 10 and half 10, and the singles start at 11 AM with the pairs to follow. Then Sunday, the 21st of July, is the main Cheshire Open. £20 per entry, £1,000 to the winner, and payouts to the last 16. And there's a £250 bonus for a 9-darter, and this is open to anyone. Doesn't matter if you're UKDA, PDC, WDF, ADC, or any other acronym you can think of, NFI, TSB, you name it, you're affiliated. Registration for this is between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. and it is a 10:30 start. So you can pay by PayPal or cash on the day. And to put your entries in, you go to cheshiredarts.co.uk. And also this weekend, this Saturday, it is the HNCF Open. This is affiliated with Darts World magazine. This is £501 to the winner. We are accepting entries until they sell out, and we are very nearly there. We've got only a few entries available. There is also a first round losers comp as well, and there is also prizes for highest checkout, for least darts on the day. And as this is a charity knockout tournament, we are also going to be having raffles and name cards, and there's some fantastic prizes that have been donated by Darts World magazine, by Red Dragon, by QSOL Darts, and the great guys at Darts Corner and St Helens Darts Shop. It should be a really good day, and we just want to raise as much money as possible for a fantastic charity. The HNCF charity, which is the Head Neck Cancer Foundation, they've recently merged with a charity called Oracle. So again, they have merged together, but that was very recently. So all the money will be going to this Oracle Head Neck Cancer UK. And please come along, support the charity, support Darts World, and have a great day playing darts, doing good things for good people.
Absolutely, and I wish you all the best with the competition over the weekend, AJ. And I also wish everyone competing in all the other events on the open road the best of luck, whether that is the competitions that AJ mentioned or the respective vault competitions in each competing region. There are many tournaments to get involved with, and why not try your luck and see if you can win.
Exactly, and isn't that what darts is all about? We all start somewhere. I started playing against my dad in the living room, and then went on to a pub on the way home from school and said, "Can I join your darts team?" And the rest is history. For some, people, it's joining youth darts, it's joining these academies that have been coming up all over the place. But where you learn how to play darts is these tournaments. Support your local tournaments. It's grassroots, it's proper darts, and this is where you start to make a name for yourself, and then look where you can be in a few years' time. All these players that you see in the PDC and doing really well in the ADC, Vaults and MODUS, they all started from somewhere, and it's all starting from the local comps, and they need their support.
Can't win the raffle without a ticket.
I like that. Speaking of raffles, you need
Trying to delve into your ways.
Yeah, you need to buy some raffle tickets. So I'll send you the link.
Definitely.
So that is it for this week's show. We have got more stuff to come. It has, as you see on the Darts World News Daily, something's happening some way, somewhere, always. But we have got a lot of updates coming up. We have got new segments coming up. We've got our latest issue of The Profile with Jensen Walker that was uploaded. And that is one of my favourite interviews, because I've known Jensen for a long time, but he just seems to have come out of his shell, and you saw glimpses of that with his interview. But we have got a lot more to come with some fantastic players and personalities within the world of darts. And don't forget, we have got that Let's Talk Darts interview with Colin Lloyd. And you never know what's round the corner with Darts World, and you'll never know what's coming up on your YouTube next.
Keep your eyes peeled, guys.
So from me, AJ Emston Toft.
And me, Harry Masterson.
We will see you in the next round, and I will see some of you at High Earlham Social Club. Come on down. I might even sign an autograph or two. Take care.